Hi, welcome to this week's History Tour with Holly. Sorry there's been a couple of weeks in between the last couple of videos. I've just started a new job, so things have been a bit hectic. So I finally finished Winston Churchill's 4-volume history of World War II. It took a long time, took months, because I had to really be in the right mood, you know what it's like. But I guess I wanted to do a video reflecting on it. So it was a fascinating read. It was very, very subjective, as you would expect, based on its author. It is based on Winston Churchill's own experience. It's very British-centric, very Anglo-centric. But it surprised me how well just how much foresight he had. And I'm actually reading his biography at the moment and looking at that from someone else's perspective, looking at how much foresight he had in World War I. That was definitely demonstrated in his writing of the history of World War II. Now, it was written in 1952, so obviously he had the benefit of 7 years after the war to reflect on what actually happened. But it was just so interesting hearing his perspective, and even though there was a lot of minutiae of parliamentary detail and political detail, which most war novels most non-fictions or movies or documentaries, they don't tend to focus on that. They really focus on the bloody part of the war. They'll focus on particular campaigns, or they'll focus on the soldier's perspective. Like, that is what's in vogue now. It's really all about personal perspectives, individual stories and things like that when we tell history now. And certainly that's been the case probably since the 1980s. But at this time, it was quite acceptable to tell history in this it's quite bland, I guess. The style, his voice is brilliant and really engaging, so it was easy to listen to because he wrote it, but the style of writing is very bland. So much detail, and he really did. He went through every major battle that the Allies were involved in. He went through everything that he saw as important, and pretty much in chronological detail, with a few detours here and there, with a few detours here and there when he saw it was relevant. But I'd highly recommend it. There are so many, as my previous videos have shown, there are so many things that happened in World War II that are so relevant, have been relevant if you look at the history of Europe since then. And now, as we look at the superpowers, America and China, and the way they're facing off against each other, the coronavirus pandemic and how we're attempting to deal with that, the way that fake news and censorship impacts on our capacity to know the real story, the way that the ABC in Australia particularly is being defunded, the difficulties in getting objective facts. Well, you can argue that there is no such thing, but certainly, in my opinion, the ABC compared to News Corp channels provides a great deal of more objective news broadcasting and that sort of thing than they do. And I know that lots of people agree with me there, and if you don't, or if you do, feel free to comment in the comments below. But it's just so relevant, and I can't encourage you enough to have a go at it. It is hard work. It is long, over 10 hours for each audiobook, and I'm not sure how many pages because I didn't read the physical books. But Churchill is a man that is worth, it is worth listening to him. He had his faults, many of them. Many of the people who worked with him didn't like him at first and had a lot of trouble with him, but he was a man who stood on the world stage for a time and very much left his mark. Many say he was the right man to get Britain through that war, and I couldn't agree more. His capacity for hard work, his commitment to his duty to serve his country is just inspiring, and his ability to focus, block out all else and focus on the task at hand with sympathy and courage and compassion for the people who it affected most, for the soldiers on the ground, make him a worthwhile teller of history. Thanks for listening.